everybody. Welcome back to the Pullbox Pals. I am Mad, or you can call me Mark, and this is my buddy Monk right here. And sorry if you're with us for about 2 minutes. We experienced some technical difficulties, which is pretty normal at the start of the year, so we're not too worried about it. We'll get it worked out.
Yeah,
But
all
yeah, it's a
the
new year, and
there's there's still ice on the internet. It's
yeah,
cold out here in
They
the
they say
east.
you're supposed to leave a little bit of a drip on your internet during the winter just so it doesn't freeze over.
You're supposed to leave your internet kind of just running slowly
Yeah.
throughout the night. Yeah.
Yeah. Always have something connected that's just going. So
I mean,
yeah,
but isn't there
so
something always
technicals.
connected?
Probably like your phone.
My phone. Actually, I don't use my Wi-Fi on my phone at home. I have unlimited data, and I just live lawlessly.
Wow. Wow, man. Yeah. No, you're living out in the West for sure when it comes to data and Wi-Fi. Um
Wow.
Woo. So dude, how was how was the break for you?
Well, buddy, we had a couple of holidays. My girlfriend and I, there it is. There's the classic pool box pals snap. I'm starting off the year with a mug root beer, which is different
Oh,
from maybe this year. What does mug root beer have a saying? Do they have a like a because
that
remember I was drinking brisk and so we kept being like that's comics baby because of brisk. Does mug have a saying? I don't
man,
think
I have
so.
I have no idea, but I'm now prompted to
Give it a
double check
Google.
that. Give it a
Well,
little
anyways,
Google, yeah.
while you're looking that up, you asked me how the holidays were. So, my girlfriend and every year that we've been together, this is our fourth year. I think was the fifth time that we celebrated Hanukkah together. Neither of us are Jewish, but we love the sentiment of every night just coming together and reading some passages from the Bible and lighting some candles. And we did it for, I think, 2 or 3 days this week. And then just life got so hectic that we just forgot the rest of the nights, which is a bit of a bummer because I really do love celebrating Hanukkah. But yeah, Christmas was good. I would love to say that the entire holiday season was great, but for some reason I find myself chain smoking again, which tells me
Oh,
that I had a couple of stressful months. But what are you gonna do? Peaks and
yeah.
valleys. I did have a good holiday season overall, but boy howdy, we were just running all over Kingdom Come. How about you, buddy? How was your time?
It was pretty good. I mean, we had the kids home for their school break, and by the end of it, you're kind of excited for them to go back to school. But no,
You're
we
pumped
had a
about
good
their
time.
education.
Yeah, I'm really excited for them to get their education going again.
Aren't
They
you
got a
guys
lot
ready
to
to
learn,
learn?
so
Yeah.
yeah.
Come on, get out
Um,
there and experience the big world and learn.
but yeah, and my daughter's birthday is like 2 days after Christmas. So that always actually like puts a little more stress on that window between Christmas and New Year's. Of we also have my daughter's birthday,
Oh, I would imagine
and
so.
like people are out of town, so it's hard to get like birthday parties going. So we ended up throwing her two different birthday parties this year, or actually, technically we did one last year and one this year. So
Oh,
yeah,
technically.
technically, but yeah, it was good. No complaint. I read quite a bit. I even picked up I've been reading through. I've been attempting to read through the Dark Tower series, and I'm still on book two. Um,
Oh gosh.
I pick it up every so often, but
Everybody's a
that's
better reader than me, and it makes me
no. Don't do that to me. Don't put
I'm
that
gonna
pressure on
compare.
me.
Let's compare. I'm gonna
Um, Here, see,
uh,
my problem is that I have what some people would call ADHD. My my personal counselor doesn't really like ADHD. He thinks it's a little too mucky to define, and so he doesn't actually like label me as one. But he's like, you do
yeah.
have traits of what people would say. So I read, I mostly read comics because they're short and don't require like too much time, like for my
Yeah.
attention. But I always have like a book that I'm reading, and I honestly only get through like a handful of books in the year. But I go through a lot of audibles. So I also have
Mm.
like an audible going, which is also I'm listening to Stephen King's latest book, Fairy Tale. I'm listening to that on Audible right now. And then yeah, I'm reading that physical copy of The Drawing of Three of the Dark Tower series, and then all the comics I've been reading. So
Oh my goodness.
yeah.
I can't tell you the last time I read a book, which is sad because I have two books of poetry and a book of song lyrics. So I
Yeah.
feel like I've like betrayed my kin. I'm sorry. Comic books, I mean, they're books, but they also have that word comic in front of them. But speaking of comics,
Should we
actually,
get
this isn't.
into them?
Well, I was about to say let's get into them, but I wanted to ask you this first. Well, maybe we'll save. I was going to
Is it
ask you if you
about
got any.
it?
Here?
I I thought you were gonna ask me if I found the slogan for Mug Root Beer.
Oh, yeah, we didn't get back to that. Did you?
I found it. You
What
ready?
is it? Yes.
You haven't tasted root beer like this in years.
You haven't read comics like these in years. There we
Exactly.
go.
That's what we're getting
There's the
into.
there's the Pullbox Pals season 2 sign off, the most terrible
You haven't
sign
read
off in
comics like
podcast
these in
history.
years.
That's no good.
Oh man. But
All
what were you
right.
really
Well,
gonna
hey,
ask me?
I was gonna ask if you got anything like nerdy for Christmas. Like, did your kids get you like I don't know what your kids think that you like Star Wars, so I would imagine that they got you like a little Boba Fett plushie or something.
So my wife and I kind of have a like. I think this is actually the first year we didn't force our kids to go out and get gifts for people
Interesting.
because we want them to come to that understanding of the importance of giving.
Mm,
And at least this is kind of like we haven't talked at length about it, but this is just kind of my take on it. Like I didn't take my son out and say, hey, you need to get a gift for your sister, or like you need to get a gift for your mom. I want it. I kind of just want him to come to that realization himself. Like he does give like to friends and family throughout the year, just kind of at random parts, and same with my daughter. But just the understanding of Christmas is something that I'm kind of like slowballing with them right now because I want them to like want to do it out of like their own like volition rather than like say like, hey, this is what we do and you have to do it.
right.
So I didn't get anything for my kids this year. My wife and I we treated each other to a date night.
Wait,
Um,
did you say you didn't get anything from your
from my
kids? I
Yeah, I
thought
didn't
you
get
said
anything
I
from
didn't. I thought you said I didn't get anything for my kids. And you just said
no
it
no no
nonchalantly. I didn't get anything
no.
for my kids. They got
No.
nothing.
We
They woke
we
up.
we got we got them a thing or two.
That's
Um,
good.
yeah. But
Like
no, I
one,
didn't.
like from the Adams family, you got a thing. Well, no, damn it. I should have said thing one and thing two from Cat in the Hat. Man,
Oh,
I've ruined this podcast for the like third time today.
and we're barely getting started, so we'll see how it goes.
Oh my god.
One thing I did get from my mom in my stocking, and I don't know if she like realized this or not,
Hmm.
but like she got Eli some pretty cool like comic book like socks in his stocking. My socks were the Hanukkah Disney socks, and I don't know if
What?
my mom realized that they were the Hanukkah Disney socks. And then
She should have got them for me.
something that was really funny that came up about those socks specifically, and just kind of like the grouping of items that they were selling at the store for Hanukkah, is there was like a big upheaval about they placed whoever did the store layout just was like doing their job trying to get the store layout put together for the holidays,
Hmm.
and they put the Jewish Hanukkah items right next to all of like the old school like German tribute stuff. And
Ooh,
people made a huge fuss about it. And it's like, yeah, I get it. But
yeah.
at the same time, it's like, I'm
Shouldn't.
pretty sure there was no like intention behind it
Uh,
to cause this stir. And then for two, it's like, yeah, we've been through this ringer and like we're still going through it, but like, let's not like make things hot that don't need to be hot anymore.
right. Yeah.
And
It's like these should like people should be able to be by each other and there not be conflict. But before we stray into waters that are way outside of a comic book podcast,
yeah.
um, I So no like nothing, no comic books. We both
No.
treated ourselves to some comics though over the holidays. That's true.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Of course.
I guess I feel like I need to mention this. This happened like I think the first week after we went on break. But my local comics store, they had a Black Friday sale, and their back issues, which they had like easily over 20 full pull boxes of, were a quarter a piece. So
You got
I
to steal,
just
man.
oh my god. So your boy here just went crazy and just sat there and just thumbed meticulously through like
Meticulously, yeah.
meticulous.
Maliciously would mean that like you did it
I
with
did it with
like
malintent.
malintent. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, these comics, I'm so angry about them. They're so
Burn them
cheap.
all.
Yeah, I could just buy, if they're 25 cents, I could warm my house with them. The way
Yes.
gas prices are going, soon we're just going to be warming our houses with old issues of Spider-Man. Um, but anyways, yeah, so I ended up walking away, and this is, they had sales on like comics that were on the shelves and all that stuff, but and like trade paperbacks, which I picked a couple up of. But I walked away with 50 back issues, over 50 back issues. And
So
I
great. What's
think,
what do you think the best thing you got was?
oh, that's a really good question. Well, I don't know, Mark. There's 50 of the things, and I haven't really thought about it. I organized them all, so I can't even like look over at my pile and be like, thumb through them. I like, we'll have to, here, I'll plug my Instagram. Check out that monk guy on Instagram, because I posted a lot of what I got there.
Yeah.
One thing that I was really happy about though is that they had a bunch of Star Wars. I think it's a IDW. It's called Star Wars Adventures, and I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure they're one-offs. Is that correct? Like it's an
Uh
anthology series.
it's more I'd say it's more of an anthology series, but like I think every 5 issues is a different arc.
Okay, that would make sense
Because
because there's
I actually I pull the Star Wars Adventures, so I should know. But
what?
IDW is not doing it anymore. They did it last year, and now Dark Horse took over. So
Well, I got some while they were out. Yeah, so I'm really stoked about that. And then what you were telling me, we were on the phone the other day, and you told me about some stuff that you got. Why don't you tell the listeners about that?
yeah, so I'm not going to go too in depth on this, but and this is something I gifted myself from my wife and I's shop, because we try to be, it's a vintage shop, but we try to include some like pop culture things. So we bought these like mystery packs of comics, and they
Hmm.
each come with 10 in it. And so for me, it didn't cost what we're selling it at, but I will just say I got each issue for $1. Um,
Woo!
and so like I went through, and they say that inside the pack, like the actual like current value of each pack ranges between, I think, $40 and $65. So you kind of take a gamble on getting one. And I
Yeah.
got one that was just below 40, I think, because I went through it, and I found the value, like the current value for each one. And I had two, actually, I have two of them right next to me. Um, I'm not going to
Okay.
show them because I have a
Oh.
video that I'm working on that's going to post it.
Oh.
So,
Shh.
uh,
You
yeah,
didn't hear
so it'll
about
come
that.
out. But two of them actually came out like to kind of help me increase that value. One of them was worth $8, and one was worth $9, um,
Wow.
which was essentially half of the overall value of the pack. But then I also had like a free comic book day one in there. Those are free, but its current value
Yeah.
is $2, and I was like, I mean, it's a win. So
Yeah. Hey, that's in the green, baby.
yeah.
Um, so I don't know, man. You want to get into some of the stuff that we read over the time?
Well, yeah, but since we are the pull box pals, do you want to talk about the issues you got this week that you're excited about, or that you will be getting? Because you weren't able to make it to your shop today. Is that correct?
No, I wasn't, unfortunately. I just got home from work not long before we attempted to jump on to this multiple times. But uh, that being said, I do know some things that are coming out this week, specifically two things that I'm pretty stoked about. I actually have issue number 2 of one of them sitting right here with me because that was one of the things I read over break. It is Specs number 2, and coming out today is Specs number 3. This
Yeah.
is from Boom Studio. This is David M. Mower, Chris Sheen, and Ronan Stevens. I'm really enjoying this comic, man. I think this comic does one thing. If you've listened to the first season of the podcast, you'll hear me talk about this idea of kind of really just encapsulating what comics used to be, just this fun, silly story that you just get plopped in the middle of this. Oh, there it is. Did you start reading it?
No, I just pulled it out of the bag. I still got my
Oh,
bag.
nice.
My bag's
Which
still
issue
full.
is? Or I mean, which is that number one?
No, that's the new one.
Oh, is it? Okay, great. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I haven't even seen the cover. So, did you read number one and number two yet?
Yeah. Big
Oh,
fan.
you're saying it.
I wait.
You're saying it
Oh, I
nonchalantly.
took
Were
it
you?
down. I had it up here behind me, but I guess I took it down to put the
Were you
top
waiting
two
for
on
me
display.
to finish my spiel about it before you went off on it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's well, good. I think it's like I said, very reminiscent of what early comics were about, and just this and just telling a fun story in a weird world.
Yeah.
Um,
No,
yeah.
the
So
concept of it's really good. Like I remember when issue one came out and I talked about this, but it's like I remember as a kid like seeing those type of things in the back of a comic book or in the back of a magazine. It's like send in your $4.99 and get these X-ray glasses or whatever.
mhm.
And so it brought up a bit of like nostalgia, but then it brought this nostalgia into a what if scenario, and that's really for me like what is driving this series so far. I mean, it's only issue 3 is coming out, so we're not like super far into it by any means, but it is just a really well thought out story. And yeah, I'm excited to dig into number 3. I'll probably end up reading that tonight because it's one of the ones I'm watching for the most. So
Yeah. Same here, man. I'm very excited to go pick it up. I probably won't be able to get it tonight. I'll probably go tomorrow, but I'm very excited to get my hands on it. And just for those of you who might not be familiar with the comic, it's just about these two boys in high school in the 90s. I love that comics are set in the 90s so much now, mostly because I think it's a reason to not have cell phones because
yeah,
of a lot of the issues in like comics. If they had cell phones, would probably be different, or at least
yeah,
like the internet, because in Specs, this comic that we're talking about, there's two boys that buy these glasses that they whatever they wish they get, and the some stuff happens because of that. Some people disappear, and some of the wishes that the way that they phrase them really affects, which is yeah, which is interesting, and it's kind of feels like a monkey paw. You know what that is?
yeah,
Remember, like
yeah,
you make a for our younger listeners who might have not watched the Brady Bunch or know where I don't even know where a monkey paw comes from. I know it from the Brady Bunch. Anywho, it's just this idea of you know uh you think you're going to get what you want, but then it has a dark twist on you, and yeah.
yeah. Well, you know that Jordan Peele's production company is called Monkey Paw.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so
That
like
means he can
Nope
only do
and
3 according to, the Brady Bunch laws.
yeah, so I mean, he did Nope, he did Get Out, and he did Us,
He's
and
done.
I don't. He's done. He did it.
Wow.
But no,
Greatest
he
trilogy ever.
actually, he talked about it. He was on Armchair Expert like a few weeks ago, and he talked about like where Monkey Paw comes from, and he gave kind of a brief rundown. And I think it does have like African American like roots to it, or even just like straight African roots
Right.
to what the Monkey Paw is. But I'm not well versed enough to continue speaking more into it, other than like go listen to his podcast on Armchair Expert, and he'll talk about it there.
Yeah.
Um,
Monkey paw.
but yeah, the series, yeah, I really do enjoy it. So also remember this in issue 1, the kids, they didn't buy the glasses. They talked about buying the glasses, and then the
You're right, it
glasses
just
showed
showed
up
up.
on their doorstep at like
Oh
3 in
my
the morning
god.
or something like that.
Mystery
Um,
upon mystery.
yeah, so there's some layers to this series. But yeah, I'm excited for that one. Another one that came out today for me that I'm very excited about is issue 8 of Bloodstained Teeth. Um,
Nice.
I've really the more this series goes on, the more I'm liking it. Like the first volume, issues 1 through 5, they were kind of like slow rolling, but you can tell now that like we're into volume 2 that like they had to like set up this big world because they have more plans to continue on. So I don't know how
Hmm.
far they plan to extend this series. I don't know how far ongoing it is or if it's limited. I haven't. That's not something that comes to memory for me, but I'm really digging it. It's a fresh take on just vampire lore, and kind of modernizing it, or at least integrating it into modern culture and just how we treat our things like cell phones and all that. How we do social media, all of it. So I really, really like it. Oh, I guess here it says that there's going to be 10 issues. So I guess possibly only two volumes, but
Like
we'll
10 in
see.
total.
Yeah. Um,
Okay,
let me see.
so
But
it's getting close to wrapping up.
yeah, but I mean, I don't. Yeah, like it could get picked up for another run though.
Right.
But we'll see. Um, but I'll look more into that. So I'm excited about Bloodstained Teeth. Yeah, it follows this character named Atticus Sloan who he turns humans into what are called sips. So they're not like generational vampires. They're like turned into vampires by an actual vampire.
Mm,
And he's essentially selling that to people. So it's like if somebody wants, if a like one of the people he like changed into a sip was a social media star, and she wanted like more flair or whatever for her social media.
yeah.
um and so that's why she wanted to turn. Another guy just wanted to be immortal. But
Immortal.
the whole purpose of this and why it's called Bloodstained Teeth is because Atticus Sloan was doing this kind of under the radar of like the
Hmm.
elders, and the elders don't approve of like making sips. And
Right.
so they told him he has like 30 days or something like that to kill all the sips that he's made, and like that's what the series is about. But then
Mm,
in issue 6 they kind of threw in this curveball which had a guest artist, and it focused in on a character that we met towards the end of the first run. And that whole issue is about like her, and she is a sip as well, but she's like using it for a purpose because she's a doctor and she's trying to save a bunch of people.
a doctor.
um and so like now she's also become this other like plot line in the series of while Atticus Sloan is going and trying to kill all these sips, she's trying to do something else entirely. And so it's kind of two things are getting told in the same story, and I'm really enjoying it. And the covers are
Nice.
fantastic. I really like the new one. I'm looking at it on the screen, but I'll pull it out of my bag here so you can see it.
I'm happy that you're enjoying it because I believe our buddy Kyle over at the comic book lair, is it Kyle? He was saying that I think he was starting to get a little sour on this. That's a
Yeah,
great cover.
yeah, the cover's amazing.
Wow.
um Yeah, I think you're right.
But
But yeah,
you're still riding that wave. You're enjoying it.
I'm still riding the wave and I'm enjoying it. And like I said, like I enjoy it more now than I did when it first started. And
Nice.
uh, because it just like the first, and if you go back a few episodes too, whenever I talked maybe about like issue 3 or issue 4, I was saying like it's just becoming like repetitive
Mm,
because like each issue is just like, yeah, Atticus Sloan goes out and kills a sip. And
yeah.
but now it's not so much in that realm, but it's still kind of like the primary plot line is that Atticus Sloan is supposed to be killing sips, but now it's diverged into other plot lines
You
as
feel
well.
like it's developing it a little bit more, developing the world a little bit more.
Yeah. So
Cool.
so
I
yeah,
like it.
that's another one I'm excited about. You got another one you're excited about this week?
Just to say real quick on that one, I feel like that's gonna be one of those ones that when it finishes, you're gonna be like twisting my leg to read. And I should. It's from Aftershock, right? Is that
No, it's
correct?
Image.
Image?
It's
Okay.
from, yeah.
Which is totally fine. Which is totally I'm saying it like somebody did something wrong. I'm like, no, 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 no. It's okay. It's okay to be from Image. Um, yeah, the other one that I am excited about getting this week was I just took a chance picking this up. Which is silly because I actually have read something before by this author, and I it is what is it called? Oh my goodness, I'm stuttering and stammering. Eat the Rich. Do you remember
Oh
I
yeah,
talked about the comic Eat the Rich? Well, that was from Sarah Gailey, and it
yeah.
is called. This one is called Know Your Station.
Okay.
Um, and have you not heard anything about this? Are you unfamiliar with this?
I am unfamiliar with that one. Please tell me.
I will. So this man, I don't know what about I there seems to be a trend with me that I really like. We're stuck in space and I have a drug problem because uh Dark Beach was that and I really enjoyed that and this is beginning to look like that and I'm really appreciating it. But the situation from what I can understand and what I can remember, I only read it once and I wanted to dive back into it before we got back into this, but what are you going to do? So there's I'm not going to be able to get any names on any of the people or the things, but there is a space station. This is set in the future that is essentially just housing rich people that escaped Earth. And I can't remember if Earth is destroyed or not, but they're not on Earth. And
Okay.
essentially all the poor people just kind of work as just people on the ship. So they work as, the people that do blah 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 blah. And you're essentially your whole purpose of if you're lower classes in service of the rich, which yada yada capitalism. It seems like it's relative to actually how society does play out. So it's cool to be put into this little system. But our main character, whose name again I completely forget, she has this. I mean, there's an AI that runs throughout the whole ship, and she's very buddy buddy with it, which is really nice because there is a lot of dialogue in this comic, but it's a lot of quick back and forth and just fun banter, and not like long lists about like alien species and wars and stuff like that. Um, but there's this thing that she gets injected to her called Blue, and it's not really clear what it does to her. It seems like it gives her a little bit of like a psychedelic trip, relaxes her, um, but she's trying to quit it and she can't. Um, and she is a detective on the ship, and there are rich people being murdered. So she has to try
Hmm.
to figure all that out. So all this is happening. It was a really fun read. The art is really good. And do you want to know what my favorite thing about it was, Mark?
What was it? What was your favorite thing? Tell
It
me.
was the fact, and this is like no shade at anybody, but it was so nice to read a female writing a female. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. No,
Um,
we've talked about that before, and
it's definitely a real thing. It was super
yeah.
nice to read this comic because at no point is she sexualized. Is she like shown as having like being torn up over a boy or like anything like that. It's just a cool story about, and it's, I think sometimes you get like, I'm a bad at when guys write girls, it's like, I'm a badass chick. I'm like so masculine. And just like, well, that's cool and that's great. And I want to celebrate those type of women, but I would love just a more feminine look at it. And again, it's not even like it's about femininity or anything like that. It just feels like it's genuinely written from that perspective.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's just hard to encapsulate that if you don't know what it's like to be in those shoes. It's
Right.
a, I would have a hard time writing about an African person who lives in Ethiopia or something like that because I've never experienced like that. It's not my world. um
Yeah. This is actually a pretty fresh thought for me because I've been keeping up with Census on Comixology,
yeah, me too. I just
and did you read the latest issue, issue
I
4?
I did.
And it was he had to steal the parade for the Black Pride Month and
Right.
not get them to go a different route or whatever. And it was all to like please these ghosts who he thought he was helping because they hadn't moved on yet.
Right.
And he is like, look what your heritage has become,
Yeah.
and then they're all three just sitting there like, nah, we're good. We kind of enjoy being here and just watching movies all day or whatever they were doing.
Yeah.
And I was just
Yeah.
thinking, like, man, whoever wrote this, it had to have been such a struggle to like put yourself in different, I guess, racial mindsets. And like,
Yeah.
because I was kind of like dying of laughter while I was reading it.
Yeah, it's I'm glad that you brought it up, and I'm glad that you're reading it because I, over the past couple days, got caught up on. I read issue 3 and 4, and man, it is so good. It is
Yeah.
the like the writing is spectacular. The jokes are funny, and it also like has genuine heart. I was gonna text again. One of our buddies from the comic book lair is reading it. I think it's Kyle, and just be like, man, this thing like took a total like shift. I felt like it was very like like, haha, this is silly. What a serious like silly thing. And then in issue 3 and 4, he was like, man, I want to like help people. I want to help these people who are, out here living in this world kind of squandered to the edges of society. And I think that that was really cool. And it's so nice that kind of, what you were talking about is pointing at that the white the white guilt and trying to make amends, but not really being able to know how to do that because we can't relate, but also knowing that this struggle is like there's an earnestness within people to try to make amends and to try to do things correctly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Man, we keep getting into topics that are so comic books, but I say that, and then like the whole reason that the X-Men existed was an allegory for racism.
Yeah.
So it's not that comic books don't belong in the sphere of saying something about the world. It just is how does it said. And I think Census is doing a very good job of just being like, how do we coexist? What does it mean for different people to walk among each other? So I'm
Yeah.
glad that you're on that, man. It's definitely a darn good read.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm enjoying quite a bit that's on Comixology, but we don't need to get into more of what's on there because there's a lot of great stuff. But man, where was I going with this? Oh, I wanted to tell you that I am now a firm believer with you in that a series of 4 issues is like the perfect amount of issues for like an arc.
Woo! Lots of people are coming around on this, and by lots of people, I mean I think maybe one guy again from the comic book lair. But I'm standing my grounds, and I was actually thinking about it, I'm like maybe 5 is better, but I read a comic here, and I'm sorry, I'll let you finish what you were saying. That was only 3. I'm like, no, that was too short. I'll take one
Yeah,
more,
three
please.
three's too short. Um, but no, so and then again, one of our buddies from Comic Book Lair is also reading what I'm about to talk about, so I'll be interested to see what he has to say. But A Calculated Man wrapped up with issue 4.
Oh man, so
That's
okay,
if you're
I didn't
looking, it's
realize
right
that it
over my
finished with
head.
that. Whoop.
Yeah. And my goodness, like when that I didn't actually know. Oh, Ray says 4 issue runs. Let's go.
That's fantastic.
um, but yeah, like it was just so well done. And like when you got to yeah, Ray, your comic book dad. Yeah, yeah.
Our comic book buddy, the comic book dad from the comic
From
book
the
lair
comic book
pod.
lair,
Yes.
yes.
Do you like comic books? Um, so thank you so much for being here, man. I
Yeah, man.
appreciate
Thanks for
that.
joining us. Um, But yeah, the whole story was just so well done. And like when issue 4 happened, I was just like kind of like jaw dropped by the end of it because I wasn't really expecting like the ending to be the way that it was. And I've talked about it in past episodes, but the premise is that Jack Beans is a guy who used to work for the mob. He was the accountant for the mob. He's also like a mathematical genius. And it's also set up that he can't tell a lie and he remembers everything, which I think, yeah, I think that's true. And so this whole series is about him, like he it opens up with him killing somebody from the mob, and he's in witness protection. And so he has his wet sec protection people that he has to like talk with. But the only reason he started going after the mob is because they found him. He saw one of the goons like walk by a coffee shop that he was sitting in or whatever, and so he's like, oh, obviously they're on to me. And he's like, the only way that I like make it out of this alive is if I take down the entire mob. And it's actually like 2 different like gangs that make up, maybe even 3, that kind of make up this mob that I'm loosely using. And he does it. So like by the end of the series, he's completed it. But like what the interesting thing was by the end of it is that it turned out that he had planned the whole thing since the time he was 7 years old.
To take down the mob.
Yeah,
Wow.
and it was just like it was such just like a comical, like exciting relief, like at the
Mm,
end of it, where you're just like, oh my gosh, like you kind of felt played just like the his old marshal that was over him who had just retired by the end of it, and he's the one who like found out about this secret of Jack's that he like it wasn't true that he didn't lie, he he was telling all these lies to make people think that he couldn't lie, um, but it
ah,
just wrapped up so well. The whole series was super exciting. I really,
that's the
really
best
enjoyed it.
lie ever.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Huh.
So I think the trade paperback comes out next. Well, actually, I don't know. It's Aftershock, and I know they're on their delays. So I'm not going to
Yeah.
say any dates, but I know that the trade paperback for it's going to come out soonish. And
And
yeah, like I totally suggest if you want an exciting read that's like fun, like the art's good, it matches the story super well. There's all just these different like relations that Jack Beans has throughout the series that are just like you fall in love with Jack Beans throughout the series, and I think that
nice.
that's what like a good comic can do for its protagonist is like make you fall in love with the character. I honestly hope that we get to see more of Jack Beans, uh,
I
but
feel like it was pretty
who knows?
popular. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if they brought it. Well, I'm definitely going to pick up the trade paperback because if it's 4 issues from Aftershock, I would imagine again if it comes out from Aftershock, I would imagine it's going to be relatively cheap. But good to see you too, Ethan.
Yeah.
After
What's up,
the
Ethan?
holiday, thank you for swinging on by. Um, yeah, I actually this is might be the perfect segue to tell you this, Mark.
What's
Um,
that? What do you
I
got to tell me?
if I might need to start listening to your recommendations more because over the holiday break, I got into a little book. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. I'll let you. I'll ask if you've ever heard this book called A Righteous Thirst for Vengeance. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
Mark,
yeah,
why
yeah.
did you not tell me about this book? I don't
Well,
understand what happened.
it must have slipped my
I
mind, man. I'm so sorry. I really apologize. Read the whole series, didn't say a word about it, and here you are just now finding out.
Oh, no, man. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make Mark happy and I'm gonna read this comic. And I just flew through it, man. Like it's
Yeah,
such I mean, there's so little dialogue and it's such a great like it's good storytelling, you know?
yeah,
Like it doesn't need it's the it does what I think a lot of 6 issues or 5 issues should do is it tells a really good story, but it doesn't need to like tell you everything, you know?
yeah,
You just need to know what's important. It needs to be interesting enough. And if it's obviously if this it can't continue kind of because of how it ends, but if it wanted to, you could definitely expand this world and even keep it in the same style where it's just one story after another where there's little where the art is more important and the narrative is carried mostly by illustration,
yeah.
I love it. So
Well, and like you were kind of left wondering too, like what is the meaning of the title until you got to the last issue, and then it's like, okay, like
yeah.
a righteous thirst for vengeance, like actually like makes sense for the series. But the whole series overall, I mean, like a really, really good comic, like to me, you're not going to remember a lot of the dialogue, but you're going to remember like how the panel was laid out at the
Hmm.
very least. And like so much of the imagery in Righteous Thirst for Vengeance still stands out. Like, uh, I remember, I think it's issue 4, maybe, where I talked, and if you go back a few, like to the episode when I talk about it, just about how like real it was when it came to using nudity throughout the run, and it's just like the antagonist, the dirty like
It
rich man is just sitting there like sprawled out like on a
right.
boat surrounded by beautiful women, and it was just so like real but like gross at the same time.
Right. And it didn't portray the human body in like a sexy way. It just portrayed it in a real way. And
Yeah,
not that the human body can't be real sexy, but in this instance, and in the sake of like aiding the story, is it just needed to be real and like grounded and gritty. So you always talk about with the art of this comic how you think of the opening panels and how you can hear that sound in your head. The image and the sound that's stuck in my head, I think, is in issue 6 where they're making the shrimp tacos, and
Yeah.
I can hear like the guy cutting them up on the grill and like like and all that
Well,
stuff.
and
Because
that's
it
just,
like
we got to shout him out, but the artist for it was Andre Lima Arahu, I think.
yeah,
I'm not sure how to say his name
yeah,
specifically.
Adre Lima
Um,
Arahu. Just point that out
but
down there
it's
at the
just
bottom.
he is such a great artist, and like he has such a I guess just like a talent with realism in his art. I've
Mm,
watched a few videos of him like drawing his art for like other series that are like coming out, and
yeah,
man, that guy is just so talented. So yeah, I will definitely be watching for really anything that he draws. I
yeah.
actually I did end up with something of his. I don't think I have it in reach. I'm gonna have to like look
Wow.
back through. Maybe I'll talk about it another time. But yeah, and then him and Rick Remender are just a great team in
Yeah,
general.
yeah.
Because I think they also did they do Deadly Class?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, if they did, then I've heard good things about Deadly Class, and I've contemplated reading that as well. So that might be something I have to pick up on Comixology. But Mark, we've talked a quadrillion times about a righteous thirst for vengeance, and I have maybe this will be the end. Who knows? Probably
Who
not.
knows?
Um, but what did come to an end, I believe, right, is Sacrament. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes. So Sacrament over my right shoulder here. Issue 5 came out a couple weeks ago. I think I sat on it for before I read it. Um, but it really was just everything you would hope it to be. And, it described itself as being a cross between the Poltergeist and Alien. And it
Mm,
really did kind of like live up to that example. The whole story overall was just like incredibly exciting. Like you're dealing with like a priest who's kind of losing his faith, but he's been called to do an exorcism. But most of the galaxy, because it is like a galaxy setting now,
hmm.
people left Earth like nearly 1,000 years ago and haven't gone back. Um, and he's being called to do an exorcist, but like religion's also like forbidden. So if you're caught doing like religious acts, you get taken up by what would be the empire in this universe. And so you kind of go through this kind of dark night of the soul with the main character. And then like his little, see you, Ray, thanks for stopping by. Um,
I was taking a big vape rip and I didn't get to say bye. Oh no.
um, but yeah, like again, it's just another one where like the story and the art match up super, super well. Like the concepts are like tangible, like you can hold on to them, and like issue to issue is just exciting because you didn't really know what you're gonna get next, but you did know that by the end of it, there was going to be some resolve with the main priest, and that this demon that he had to go vanquish would be vanquished. The whole journey is like how did they get there? And it really was just well done. I don't want to give too much away because it's still a pretty fresh comic. Like
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like I gave too much away on A Calculated Man, but I don't really care because it's worth reading regardless of how much you know about it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but it is like Sacrament is also very, very dark. So if you like dark comics, that one is right up your alley. I promise you.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well,
What
sick,
else
man.
have you been reading?
Well, I think the last one that I want to shout out is since I guess we're talking about dark comics. Um so this is Nobody's Girl.
Okay.
Um and this is let me open it up, see if I can get the names out of this. It's from Sumerian, and it's all in black and white, which I really appreciate. I love a good
Oh
black and white
yeah.
comic. Um and so this story kind of reminds me of May's book when we read that a while back.
Yeah.
I'm not finding the names of oh, there we go. Damian Connolly and the artist is Matasan San Juan. And it's so it was translated by Anna Shadowcat. I didn't see it, so I guess this is probably I guess Spanish or something like that. I don't know, but that's really cool. Um, but so it's about a teacher who seems to, and again, this is set in the 90s, have a porn addiction. And so, again, this is a little crass and a little dark here. So, just a little bit of a maturity warning. Um, and he rents a video from a video store, and in the video there's like a girl who like looks like she's like being held hostage, and being yeah, just not good things happening. And so he takes the video back to the store, and he's like, what the hell's wrong with this? Yada yada yada. And then they're like, oh man, you just got pranked. Like, this is nothing. Don't worry about it. But he's haunted by this, and he like sees images of the girl like wherever he looks, and he ends up someone ends up getting a hold of him, and they start trying to track down this girl together. I
Huh.
read issues 1 and 2. It's very enjoyable. It's very heavy. I would imagine that it's kind of covering some like more mature stuff and more like, yeah, adult themed, obviously.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I was just not expecting it. I just grabbed it because me, I like to grab the first 2 issues, and if they're good, then we're off. But and so that's what I did, and yeah, so I would definitely check it out. But it is definitely for lack of a better word, triggering.
Yeah.
Of just you yeah, it's you want to go into it with yeah, just being like, okay, this is going to be exploring stuff some
Right
stuff.
on.
But yeah, and I've read some other stuff. I got caught up on Canary. I'm trying to think if there was anything else that I read that really stood out to me. There was some stuff that I read, but nothing that like it was like I'm not feeling overwhelmed to share it. But how about you, buddy?
Yeah. Let's see. There's two things I need to talk about.
Let's hear it.
Two different series, I guess.
Mm.
One of them is that I saw that the DCU app or whatever, not DCU, just the DC Infinite or whatever it is, or I think it
Yeah, I
is
think
called
that's what it's
DCU
called.
Infinite, maybe. Um,
Who knows?
they they put up like issues that you don't have to have a membership for to read. And one of
Mm.
the ones that they put up was called just imagine if Stan Lee created the DC universe. And so
Oh, that's what it's called.
Stanley actually
Oh
wrote
wow.
this, and each issue is like
Oh
his origin
right.
story for those characters. I didn't finish both volumes. I got through the first one, which had like the first one was like Batman, and then like Wonder Woman and Superman, I think Green Lantern and maybe the Flash. It's like your
Mm.
main five, I guess. And it really was like reading like the origin story of Spider-Man, or the origin stories that Stanley's like known for, like just the way that it was done, the way that he like brought it to life. It I will say it wasn't like believable for me, just because like it was hard for me to separate the world of Stan Lee and DC and Marvel, because
Sure.
they're all just so like solidified over time. But they was like fun to read. I really enjoyed it. I'm not saying everybody should go out and like find it and read it, but like that's just kind of like some comic book nostalgia of what if Stan Lee did this instead of
That's so
did.
cool.
Yeah. So
Something else.
I don't know if it's still available on the app or not. I haven't checked. But I know that when I found it, I had seen an advertisement saying like this is available now to read for free from this date to this date, and I think it is. I don't know. I think it is off now. I don't think you can read it anymore. I think it was last weekend was when you could pick it up. So
Drats.
there's that. But then I also just wanted to give a shout out to what I posted about recently, Cover the Dead with Lime.
Woo!
So
I
if you
feel
read
like I
my
need to get
post,
this.
you already know, but like my shop, for whatever reason, and I haven't really like dug in with them about like why. But anytime I try and get something from Blood Moon Comics, it never shows up. Um, and uh, and then over break, Jonathan Chance, the writer of Covered Dead with Lime reached out to me and asked if I wanted to read them. It was I don't really know like why he reached out to me. I haven't asked him that, but I've kind of been chatting with him a little bit more, so maybe I will ask him. But yeah, I was like, yeah, dude, I'd love to read them. So he sent me the first 3 issues, and I went through them in like an evening, and it was just so amazing. Like to me, like this small indie group, it's just a team of 4 people that put this comic together, and uh, everything just was so in sync. Like the art
Mm.
with the pencils and the inks was just absolutely matching the tone of the prose. And then when the guy who did the color, whose name I can't, maybe it was Felit or something like that. He came in with the colors and very much like created that soundtrack that you like to see with
Mm.
colors while you're like reading through a story. And yeah, like I just loved it so much. I'm trying to see if I can get my hands on issue 4, but there's also just such a limited amount that an indie can put out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, I'm gonna try and see if I can get my hands on them. But uh, basically, and I think I've told you already what it's about, but it's about a plague that happens in the mid 1600s in England, and all these rats come on ships that seem all broken down, like nobody's survived on the ships, and they infect the population with a new plague. And then some people who become infected, they turn into zombies. And in the opening scene, though, you have Jack Teller and his son. They're just enjoying a day out fishing on the docks. And then when they finish up fishing, that's when like the first ship rolls in.
Mm.
And Teller becomes the main protagonist of the story, and he ends up becoming a plague doctor. But in a way, he's kind of like written, uh, kind of like a Batman of the 16th century or 17th
Interesting.
century, I guess. Like
Yeah.
he clearly has like a purpose of vengeance in what he's doing, and the comic goes back and forth between like the early days of the plague versus where he is now, and he like basically just goes around as like kind of this Batman type character taking on like Walking Dead type situations.
Mm.
Um,
That's pretty dope.
and and also at the same time trying to save people who are not infected from being eaten by the zombies. So
Mm.
it's very exciting. The art's super good. They do multiple covers for each issue too, and they are all outstanding. Like they're just wonderful covers. So yeah, if you're interested, I'd suggest just like going online and looking at the covers. I'm pretty sure they're all available on the website. Um, but yeah, if you can get your hands on that, I definitely recommend hopping on.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Man, that's
Yeah.
I feel like we had a good time, comic time. I definitely felt that over this break because I was thinking back past this next year, or I was thinking back, over the last year with comics, and I was just like, I feel like I read a lot, and there was a lot of like hit and miss stuff in there, but like just I just want to quickly say this: I finished reading "Do a Power Bomb." Quick
Oh yeah.
note: that's God.
Oh,
There he
hey
is.
God.
Hey God. Um, but that was a really good story, and I started reading another book by the same author, Daniel Warren Johnson, Murder Falcon. I started reading
Oh
that,
yeah.
didn't get too far into it, and I really was enjoying that. Um, the senses, specs, a righteous thirst for vengeance. I was just really happy to read a bunch of just fun comics over the break, and I'm really looking forward to see what this year has. I think it's going to be some good stuff.
Yeah. I'm excited for this year. I know that there's a lot of good stuff coming out down the road. None of it's coming off the top of my head, but
That's fun. Do you have any like comic book goals? What's your comic book goals?
um my
Oh,
comic
look
book
at that.
goal honestly this year is to reduce the amount of comics I'm reading. So that but
Or
it's
to
more
how do
for
you
one
say
to
that, to
say
like refine them
to kind of, well, like what, there's a few reasons behind it. For one, like I'm trying to not spend as much money on comics this year. Um And then for 2, I want to focus in on like a certain amount of like series that I'm reading rather than just have like a shit ton of them all at once, and then
Yeah.
focus more on like getting trade paperbacks
Yeah.
once like an arc has finished. So that's kind of like a 2-in-1 goal, is like spend less money and subscribe to less comics, but then still like keep on top of comics through things like Comixology and just buying trade paperbacks instead of buying issue to issue. So
Nice. One thing for me that I really want to do this year is start to like get on what are those called? They're like the comics version of Patreon, of like supporting comics via like they have it's called like stacks or something, like
Substack. No,
Substacks.
not
That's it.
Substack.
Thank you.
Wait,
Oh no.
isn't Substack
A sub shop. You
no, I
stack up
think so.
subs.
You know, I I'm too
Who
intrigued.
knows? But just real quick, we got a new friend here from Mick Thomason. What's up? He sent me here, tantalizing Tony. I would assume that that is our good buddy Anthony Blackwell Jr. Thank you so much for coming here via his recommendation. Tony is the best. We're still using his platform, so thank you so much to Tony. Go check out the ABJ, the Anthony Blackwell Jr. podcast. But hey, man, how do you feel? I know our buddy, our longtime good pal Mick just popped in, but how do you feel about landing this bird?
We should land this bird because it's about time to wrap up.
It's about time for you to go bowling and for me to go to sleep.
I gotta roll some rocks tonight.
Yeah, that's right, baby. That sounds like you're a crack dealer, but whatever you gotta do, man. No judgment here. Whatever feeds your kids. But hey, I just wanted to say a quick shout out. We already said thank you to Anthony. He's the best. So make sure that you check out all of his podcasts. Big shout out to my friend Tori, who did the new art that you will be seeing everywhere. It's kind of behind us in our video stream, but it's on our Facebook. It should be on wherever you listen to it on podcasts. The new image should be there. We loved it. We're stoked on it. So thank you so much, Tori, for doing that.
Thank you, Tori.
And then let us know what you thought of that new intro music, because yours truly made that intro music.
Worked real hard on it. Proud of you.
Yeah. Should we finish with it? Should I say our new saying, and then I'll go back into that and we can just end with that? Is that how?
Yeah, let's do it.
All righty. Well, Mark, it's so good to be back with you, buddy. I imagine that we're going to be back around the same time next week.
That's right.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, hey, you ain't ever read a comic like this before.